Well, it's been a week or more since I had created a video, and I've really had no ideas for one. So I guess it was like a resting time for me because, a lot has happened since the last I posted a video. And so, it's not really, I guess, a teaching video per se, but it's more or less a video that I'm sure we can all agree with that when God when we're hearing God's voice, He may promise us something. And in that promise, we're wanting it to happen right away. And let's say you're in church and somebody gives you a prophetic word, something like God's going to bless you. And it's going to happen soon. Well, in our minds, we're like, oh man, is it going to be in the next day or so? Or is it going to be in the next week, in the next month? We never think how long that promise will be fulfilled. To us, we want things to happen now. But when in reality, there are things for us to learn, there are things for us to go through before we would reach that promise. It's sort of like, just like a prophetic word that this one man got that I heard is that, he was told that, you know, he was a great husband and a great father and things like that. And this prophet gave him that word. And so after the word was done, I guess the leaders of that church went to that prophet and said, we really think that you missed the mark here because this guy is the biggest adulterer and he treats his kids horribly and stuff like that. And the prophet was like, I gave what God told me to give him. So what happened? The man that received that word did a complete 360. He was completely different. He became exactly the word that that prophet gave him. That word was fulfilled. So, we don't know how long, a promise takes, for it to be fulfilled. There are things that we need to learn. There are trials that we have to go through. And I think in my own life, just how God has come through for me. I recall when I was walking in faith for an apartment. God said to me, He said, I want you to start packing. Well, no places opened up. We didn't get a chance to look. Uh, we haven't applied for any places, but He told us to start packing. So, in obedience, I did that. And I think it was like 9 months before that place opened up. And so God was right in everything He said. But there were things that I had to learn until that time. I had to learn to walk in faith fully. And He brought up circumstances to where I can walk in faith. Before that big test came, He gave me, little walks of faith until I got to that place to where I was walking for that apartment and many other things. So, you know, we can hear from God about something that may appeal to us, but who knows the miles that we have to tread before it's actually fulfilled. So, as a personal testimony now, I am currently walking in faith for a place that God, I believe, had promised me. And from what I can see on my end, no places have popped up. And, I heard from Him that He was going to bless me with a place. And things were going to happen regarding the books that I had wrote. And for so long I have waited for things to really pick up. But, in the past, they didn't sell or anything like that. So he told me that things were going to start happening. But who knows? From that moment that he said that, I'm like, oh man, when is this going to happen? Is it going to happen soon? But I don't know when it's going to happen, but God does. He knows when, the books will take off. He knows when things will start happening. And yet, there's always that chance that when we're hearing God, we're hearing our flesh. How many times have we done that in our life where we're hearing ourself and we're going along with it? And God's like, I never told you that. So, that even though I've heard God's voice, I've given people prophetic words, even though I've heard his voice, and from what I heard, things have happened exactly what I've heard. But I'm not going to get all bold and stuff and say, well, I hear God. To this day, I ask God for confirmations to be sure that what I'm hearing is correct. Because I don't want to go on a tangent. I don't want to go off on something that he's never even told me. You know? So all I want to do is just be obedient to him. I want to have the right heart. I want to walk in love. I want to walk in care. And man, I've made mistakes along the way, and all I just want to do is be obedient before Jesus and listen to him, have the right heart, walk in love as I'm supposed to. So, I am walking in faith for everything to start happening, because here in my flesh, you know, my current circumstances, I want them to change, but, it's in God's timing. And it reminds me of what a prophet had said. He said, God allows in his wisdom what he can easily prevent by his power. God can make things happen right now. If they aren't happening, then there is something that I need to learn from now until that time is promised. And it could be the same thing with you. God may have promised you something. It could be a prophetic word from somebody and you're waiting for it to be fulfilled. It hasn't happened yet. Why? So it takes spending time with Jesus, like Mary did, sitting at his feet, rather than, getting all busy with, things that are happening in your life. It's best to take time and sit at the feet of Jesus and learn from him. So I'm going to end things here. Thank you for taking the time to watch.